Hello and welcome to this week's Securicy webinar. My name is Russell Rudzikowski and I am the Customer Success Manager at Securicy. In last week's webinar, we covered creating your security team and making security part of your company culture. We're going to dive a little more in depth on one of the responsibilities of your security team we covered last week, security awareness training. In order to implement a security program, your staff need to have training and education on the latest information in terms of security. Many companies fail to successfully implement security awareness training as they use outdated teaching techniques, are not covering the latest material, or do not have the time to organize training sessions. Not training your staff can have serious consequences. For example, if someone in your organization does not understand or know about ransomware, phishing emails, or another type of threat, they could single-handedly cause damage to your company in terms of data loss or a financial loss simply by opening and clicking a link in an email. Today, we will cover the topic of training ideas and the implementation of a simple security awareness training session. So let's get started. Today's agenda. Today, we're going to review the following topics: implementation of training, the security team, the training types, brief and focus training, creating a schedule, choosing topics, and making it engaging. Finally, some common training topics from password management to email security, VPNs, software and system updates, and finally, antivirus software. What should companies not do? There are many things companies are doing wrong in terms of awareness training. We're going to briefly review a few examples of what not to do. Not making security part of company culture. Senior management will introduce security to their staff as simply something that they are doing to get a deal done. They do not encourage adopting it into their company culture and are simply going through the motions to get past a regulation or to close a deal. This creates a negative view of security across the entire organization and should be avoided. Another thing is only doing training once or twice a year. This makes security the focus for only 1 or 2 days out of a possible 365. Much of the topics covered will simply be forgotten. Scheduling monthly training sessions will make security easy to learn and practical to implement for your staff. Senior management not demonstrating concern through leadership. Many times, senior management will not get involved in training or take security seriously. In order for your entire program to be effective, you must practice what you preach at all levels of your company. So let's start with the security team. Security awareness training sessions will be part of the responsibilities of the security team with guidance or insight provided by senior management. They will be in charge of researching topics, organizing the training, implementing the training program, and finally verifying any practical lessons. We covered how to build your team in last week's webinar, so we can kind of review now how to begin implementing your training. So types of training. There are many different types of training, from classroom to video or interactive software. Video and interactive software is a great tool for training once you find the right product or tool. This can allow your staff to complete training on their own time and allows you to review if your staff is actively completing this training, if there is an audit record in the video or software. If you use classroom or presentation-based training, focus on small groups of employees for each training session. Not only will this reduce the amount of downtime as each department can be covered separately, it allows for more focused training. No matter what type of training you use, separate training for each team or department is necessary. Your sales and marketing team do not need to be trained on best practices when it comes to programming. However, email security and the hardening of devices would be more relevant to them. By keeping your training small, you can focus on what matters, reduce company-wide downtime by not having everyone in a training session, and only cover pertinent topics, leading to a more engaged training class. Keep it brief and stay focused. Security awareness training can be a dry topic sometimes. While you can make it fun depending on how you organize your training, it should always be kept relatively brief. Studies show that short, focused training allows staff to absorb the information at a better rate and retain it for longer. They are not overwhelmed trying to remember the 5 security topics that you covered over an 8-hour period. Focus on one relevant topic at a time and try to keep the training sessions to between 15 and 25 minutes. Head into each training session with one topic, be it a policy or a new threat, and a clear lesson that is practical for your staff. Your staff will be more focused on the material, less overwhelmed by the multiple topics you will have to cover, and they will be able to bring back what they have learned into their roles within your organization. Create a schedule. Security awareness training is most effective when it is done at least on a monthly basis. It allows your staff to focus on security at least once a month. If you are training, if you have training organized on a yearly basis, your staff may only think of security one day out of that 365. As well, it is more difficult for them to remember and retain the material. Monthly training allows for you to cover single topics in a quick way. As well, it allows you to expand on topics you've already covered, bring in topics from other lessons, cover new and newsworthy material, and create a more effective security umbrella when it comes to training. Not only will your staff have more of their time to work and be productive, but by scheduling monthly training, it reduces the pressure on them to remember one day's worth of material for an entire year. Cover the latest topics. There are few things worse than a long-winded, boring training on a topic that has already been covered or is outdated. Use cybersecurity news to enhance your training and have it cover the latest details. Currently, ransomware and phishing scams are some of the top headlines of 2018. You should be training your staff on these topics. Use the latest news articles in your training. Your staff have probably already read or heard about them, and bringing them into your training will make it relevant. Make it engaging. While a PowerPoint presentation or a guided walkthrough may cover a topic or explain the details, giving your staff something to do or something to implement after the training helps to bring the lesson home. Video or software training with short tests can be another way to give practical training. It could be as simple as getting them to change a setting in their email, walking through an email to ensure it is not a threat, enabling the firewall on their laptop, or having them research a topic that makes learning a little more dynamic. This adds a practical element to your training sessions and helps to break up a lecture style training. Now that we have reviewed some areas around the implementation, let's take a look at some of the latest topics and trends in security awareness training sessions. Review the threats. Your staff should understand what threats are out there. You should review the latest examples of these threats and the criminals that exist in the cybersecurity world. Understanding the tools and techniques that these criminals use will help your staff be more aware and allow them to spot a threat before it becomes an issue. Covering such things in this, such as ransomware, phishing emails, or social engineering, are great ideas for topics to review the latest threats. Password management. If there's one lesson that can be covered for every department in your organization, it's this one. What staff member doesn't currently have a number of passwords that they're responsible for on a day-to-day basis? Explaining your company's policy and procedures on passwords should be a training topic for everyone. Some of the things to cover in this training session would be your password policy, the process between maintaining, storing, updating passwords, and a relevant example of a breach or a newsworthy item regarding issues with not following a password policy. Finally, always try to have two-step authentication set up on any online accounts that support it. It's a feature supported by the likes of Google, Yahoo, Facebook, and should be made use of whenever possible. It provides an extra level of security beyond your password. Device management. Another lesson that likely applies to all your staff is device management, from a desktop to a laptop, server infrastructure to a cell phone. Your staff may be the owner of one or many of these devices. Ensuring that they know how to secure the devices and they are responsible for is vital. Explaining your policy and practices, letting them know that such things as closing their laptop when it is not in use, encrypting their hard drive, or prompting them for a password once they log into once they turn on a device are all topics that your staff should be trained on. Email security. While some departments may use email more than others, your staff should be aware of the best practices around email security. Phishing threats are real, and looking at recent news stories, it has affected thousands upon thousands of people and lots of different companies each year. Topics on reviewing your email policy will inform staff of what they should do when they receive any email. Do they know never to click on a link from an unknown sender? Have you trained them on checking the email domain for every email that they receive so they know that it has not been spoofed? These topics can be explained to staff quickly and easily and will have an immediate impact in terms of security. Clicking on a link in an email could lead to a possible ransomware infection and the loss of data or time while the issue is dealt with. Data protection. Your staff should understand all elements of the data you store and process for your business. It is vital that you explain your company's policies and procedures regarding data retention and data processing. They should know what and where and how all your data is stored. Virtual private networks or VPNs. Do you have any remote workers or staff that like to sit and work in the local coffee shop or restaurant? Are they using shared Wi-Fi in these locations while they work? This could be a potential issue as many of these shared public networks are open to anyone, including hackers. Someone could be sniffing all the data that is going across the local coffee shop's Wi-Fi. Training your staff to install and use a VPN when working in an unsafe network is essential for security. Not only do VPNs encrypt the data, but it also allows you to work safely and securely in public. This topic could be part of covering or also explaining your network or Wi-Fi policy that your company has implemented. Software and system updates. How many times have you chosen to ignore a software update? If your company does not have a system for automatically forcing local updates, many of your staff may have ignored an update or two, or maybe more. While not all updates are vital, many are very important to keep up-to-date security on your device. Educating your staff on why it is important to install updates on their own is a great idea for training. You could also explain to them the benefits as well as show them how to automate the process so their Windows or Apple device automatically looks for the latest updates. This is a very simple topic, but it is a great way to secure all devices within your organization. Antivirus software. Antivirus software should be something that is installed on all devices that your organization uses and should be managed by a policy. This software can vary in price, and there are many great free versions as well. Older antivirus software was known for slowing down your computer more than helping it out. However, today this is not the case. Many options are lightweight and have little effect on performance. Explaining to your team the benefits of using antivirus software is another great training idea. As well, you could train them on the use of the software, how they can be proactive, and have it scan automatically on a scheduled basis. This is a great way to allow your team to take security into their own hands with a basic antivirus software. Thanks for joining us this week. Now we will review any questions you might have. While we wait for the questions to come in, I'd like to mention that next week's webinar will cover the topic of how to harden your Mac laptop or desktop. All right, we have a question here. How can my security team be trained on these topics? Members of your security team should have a knowledge of IT to begin with. If this is not possible, many major cities have testing centers that can certify your staff in something like Security Plus or a basic security or hardware certification. What VPN do we recommend is another question. There are many options available. You should review your software and ensure it always meets your needs. One example that we commonly see is the private internet access. It's a great VPN that many individuals use. All right, we have another one. What antivirus program do you recommend? Again, there are many different options. You should always review your software to make sure it works with your latest operating system or the other applications your company may use. Some great options are Symantec is a very big name. and there's another free version that a lot of people use called Avira. All right, it looks like that is it for questions today. Again, thanks for joining us, and next week's webinar will be covering how to harden your Mac laptop or desktop. Thank you very much and have a great day.